Hello, my name is Colin McNamara. Today I want to go over Performance Manager inside Golden Cheetah version 2.0. So let's go ahead and dive right down into Performance Manager. It's available by clicking the PM tab inside your main console. So what I have here is my 2010 and into my 2011 season that's been imported into Golden Cheetah. If you look around your Performance Manager, you're going to see a couple values that are graphed out here. The first thing that you're going to see is a red line. So these red lines, the individual dashes here, that represents the amount of stress that was put into your body for an individual ride. Now, this amount of stress can be quantified in between one of two ways. Actually one of three ways, but for cyclists, one of two ways. The amount of stress can be quantified using training impulse, which I have highlighted here. It says use TRIMP, which is short for training impulse. What training impulse is there's algorithms that measure how much, it's a heart rate based algorithm that measures how long you're in a certain heart rate zone and assigns a stress score based on that. Now you can also use Daniel's points, which is an algorithm that is mainly used for runners. I'm not a triathlete, so I don't use this. And then if you're a pure power user, you can go ahead and use bike score. So bike score itself is effectively, for all intents and purposes, it is a training stress score from Dr. Andrew Coggin, except Dr. I think Philippe Skiba created a 30-second rolling average versus a 25-second rolling average. I think it all breaks down to some licensing issues with Training Peaks for utilizing the term. But if you're writing training and racing with a power meter, or a lot of the documentation online, like in Google's wattage list, anytime you hear TSS, you can really think bike score. They're one and the same. So I'm going to go back to using TRIMP because that has the majority of my season inside of it. So let's go ahead and scroll out. What are some of the things that you'll see inside this season? The first thing that you see is this green line. Now, this green line is long-term stress. So this is what's called your CTL, your cumulative training load. You can almost think of this as your fitness. So each of these red impulses, these training impulses or these training stress signals, go ahead and they add up, just add up in your body day over day. And as you continue to apply stress to your body, over time it sticks with your body, and you can look at how high your CTL is, or in this case, your long-term stress. Now, what this really says is how fit am I? If I've applied a lot of stress to my body over time, I'm going to be very fit. Mathematically, what this is, it's a 42-day average of the training stress that's been applied to your body. Now, the next number that's computed out of here is your short-term stress. So if your long-term stress, or CTL, is how fit you are, and that's a 42-day average, your short-term stress is really how tired you are. So it's in other reading on the internet is known as acute training load, or ATL. So in this graph, it's called short-term stress, and this is really your short-term fatigue. So as you see, I have a couple really hard double centuries that are in here. The red lines are really high, so it's a lot of training stress that is induced, and it really shot up my my acute training load, right, or my short-term stress. Now, the other thing that you have to proactively manage in here is the balance of your fitness, the green line, to your fatigue, the blue line. And that's really what's called the training stress balance. And that's a black line here. So why is your training stress balance important? Well, depending on how you manipulate the relationship of your fitness to fatigue, you can use this training stress balance, or it's commonly called TSB, to plan out your seasons. Maybe you're doing periodization. So right now, early in the season, you might be doing base 1 or base 2. Now you're doing 3 weeks hard and 1 week of reduced volume. You can actually track how you're putting stress in your body, and you can make sure that you're recovering just enough to allow your body to rebuild, and then put more stress in your body and basically dig yourself deep into a hole and then allow yourself to recover. Now, before a competition, you can use this to manage your taper. So a lot of endurance athletes, if you're doing like doubles or brevets or something a lot longer, what ideally they'll do is they'll let their training stress balance come to like a -8 or something, and that'll allow them to provide, what that allows their body to do is recharge, repair, but not lose a lot of your long-term cumulative training load. So you don't lose a lot of your fitness, but allows you to bring your form, come back on form, so you can really have a good showing at your race. For criterium racers or kind of shorter course racers, they find there's some research out there that shows that bringing your training stress balance above 0 will give them, will really bring them ready for that sprint. So what you want to do is use this chart to manage your training load over time to make sure that you're continuing to increase your fitness, but also to make sure that you're not digging yourself into too deep of a hole, or more importantly, allowing your body to rest and recover. So that's the Performance Manager tab inside of Golden Cheetah. Now the next thing I want to show you is a Performance Manager report that you can run inside of Golden Cheetah, but that I think is a little prettier and it's a little bit easier to understand. So let's go ahead and highlight the Metrics tab over inside Golden Cheetah. Now what I've done, there's a couple of standard charts that come inside of here. One of them is a Skiba PM. That's a Skiba Performance Manager. It's actually the same data that we were looking at before. Now this is going to be totally power based, so I just picked up my power meter about a month ago, so I don't have a lot of data in here. So I'm going to put in base 1. Now what you can see here is I have, where in the past it was a busy chart, well, I have the ability to go ahead and average some of this data. So Skiba's for direct power meter users, but remember I was looking at the trimp chart before? So what I've done is I've created a trimp power meter by highlighting on the right hand side, hold down my command button on a Mac, highlighting trimp long-term stress, trimp points, trimp short-term stress, and a stress balance. So this gave me my training stress balance, my CTL, and my ATL. Now let's highlight 2010 season. And if you go by days, which is the default view inside the Performance Manager tab, right? It's a whole bunch of spiky stuff. It's kind of hard to see a trend out of here. What I like when you're using the Metrics tab to do this, you can go over, choose your chart, and you can smooth out that data. You can apply weeks to it. So now you can see my blue, which is my long-term stress or my CTL. You can see my base. I did some rest and I lost a little bit of fitness, but you look at my fatigue went way back down, and you can actually see the periodization through your season. Now if you're using power inside of here, you can go ahead and then graph on, hold down command, graph on your 60-minute peak power. So let's do base 1, and now I can actually see how my CTL, my long-term stress, because I'm in base, it's actually kind of declining, but you can see how my 60-minute power is actually increasing. So being able to smooth out your data using weeks and months is a really good thing. It's a really awesome thing. And you can go a little too far, so if I put months, you can see how I built through my season. I peaked for some summer races in July, and then I was able to kind of bring my fitness level down to a manageable pace through the winter. So let's bring this back to weeks. So again, I hope that I've been able to kind of demystify the Performance Manager charts inside of Golden Cheetah, and giving you some tools to allow you to use this to plan out your seasons and really plan your own performance to a predictable level.